Now it's time for Spot On Sports. Here's your hosts, Mike Trez and Mike Cadone.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Spot On Sports, New York's premier sports talk show. My name is Mike Trez, the great Michael Anthony driving the train for us tonight. We've got another great show for you tonight, folks. Tyler Davis from the Green Bay Packers joins us in just a little while. Johnny Sticks later to talk some hockey with us. Before we do any of that, let me say hi to my co-host, the man we call the coach, Mike Cadone.
Trez, it's great to be back and happy anniversary. It's 1 year since we started this endeavor, and it's been a while for me because I've been married 25 years. I don't remember what the 1 year anniversary gift is, but whatever it is, we're going to give you a huge shout out. Just excited again, once again to be here. And with all the NFL playoffs and the NBA and now, hockey going full steam. Unfortunately, baseball taking a little bit of a backseat at the moment, but we'll have plenty of time to get to that in the coming months. But again, just excited to be here and a great show ahead.
Yeah, it's great to have you back, Mike. And just you being here is enough of a gift. But let's start with the biggest story of the last week or 10 days, and that, of course, is the New York Giants, your team and mine, cleaning house. Letting Dave Gettleman retire, in air quotes, and also getting rid of Joe Judge. So any of that surprise you, Mike? It became clear down the stretch that you wanted to see Joe Judge gone. Now that he is, anything about it surprise you, or you're okay with everything the Giants have done?
I'm okay. I think it was completely necessary. Unfortunately, I hate to see any coach lose their job, GM. But it became increasingly clear that it was time to clean house completely. I think the thing that surprised me the most, Trez, was that it took a day or two for Giants management to finally pull the plug on Joe Judge. I think they wanted to give him every opportunity to save his job, to talk face to face. But I think it became increasingly clear also within the media that there was no way that Joe Judge was going to survive, his recent follies, both on and off the field. And I think the Mara family and the Tisch family figured it out that, there's no way that we're going to be able to bring in a general manager and not have that person be able to pick their own coach. It just was time. And, will Joe Judge be a great coach down the road? Who knows? But it's certainly not going to be on the Giants sideline.
All right. So let's start with the GM position, Mike, for which the Giants have already started interviewing folks. They interviewed, first round was by Zoom, which, listen, we get it. People have to learn to do a lot of things by Zoom now.
Yes,
and
sir.
Honestly, if you think about it, it makes sense. Why bring guys all the way in, make them fly in from various cities around the country until the second round? The second round is underway. Some of the leading candidates, Joe Shane, spelled Schoen, but pronounced Shane, from the Bills. Rand Carthon, who that last name will be familiar to Giant fans, from the 49ers. Also, Adam Peters from the 49ers. Let's start with those three guys, Mike. Any of those names register with you in terms of what you know about these guys and what you might like to see from any of them moving forward?
Well, the thing that sticks out to me, Trez, is that we're talking about guys from winning organizations, which, of course, you're not going to bring in anybody from the Jacksonville Jaguars or someone along those lines, but winning pedigrees, which is great. Also, some younger, newer blood, which gets me excited as well. Ryan Poles, assistant GM with the Chiefs, had a second interview as well today. In person, as well as Joe Shane. So I think those two are the front runners. If not, Shane again is or Schoen, or however you want to pronounce it, however he wants to say it. If they bring him in, I would be happy with that, because once again, great pedigree and someone who has proven, as a young executive, that he's ready to take that step. You'll probably notice behind me, or maybe you haven't. I have a You have your Giants stuff up. I have my Chad Pennington Jets, the only Jets gear I own, but I also have a Chicago Bears jersey. And the reason why that is there is because they're also hot on the tail of many of these GM candidates. So I wanted to at least get that thought in our head and say, you know what, as Giant fans, as Giant watchers, we need to pull the trigger here pretty quickly on one of these guys.
You make a really good point, though, Mike. If you look up and down this list, Titans, Ravens, 49ers, Bills. I mean, the Giants are talking to guys from winning organization, including Adam Peters, who was John Lynch's right-hand man out in San Francisco. Mike, when you look at the fact that they found George Kittle in the 5th round and drafted Deebo Samuel in the 2nd round, and compare that to what Dave Gettleman did, reaching up what we felt was a little bit too high for some of his main players in the last couple of years, you have to be impressed by the fact that the Giants, at least seemingly, have started to move into, hey, we've got to find a guy who has some connection with the Giant organization. I don't want anybody that has any connection with this organization because they've been terrible for 10 years.
It's no doubt it's been tough. And also you make a great point there in terms of the draft. I mean, the draft has not been plentiful for the Giants. They went the route of free agents, which, thank you, Art Johnson. Good to see you there, my friend. As we talked about it, we were very, very excited about, or at least I was, about the Giants free agent acquisitions, and of course, that unfortunately went down the tubes. So now, it's time to get into the draft. It is a couple of year process here, but can be turned around relatively quickly. There just needs to be a plan. And I think you were right before. Gettleman seemed to, God bless him, but there was just no real solid game plan there, and just was kind of picking for what he could find instead of saying, hey, this is what we're going for right now.
A name that keeps coming up, not necessarily in relation to the Giants, Mike, but has been thrown around for basically any team that needs a top executive, is Louis Reddick. Now, as far as I know, up till now, the Giants have not brought him in. Would you bring him in? And is he a guy that you think they should give serious consideration to?
Well, sure. You know what? At this point, you might as well not leave any stone unturned. But I find it interesting. I was talking with a coworker today who's a football guy, and we were saying that the hot coordinators that are here now talking about head coaches. Going back to Dan Quinn, who was considered such a failure because of his Super Bowl meltdown in Atlanta, and now he's a hot name. And where do these hot names come from? There is some background to them for sure, but I almost feel in some respects there's like PR firms pushing these guys to say, hey, this is where we go. So if the Giants don't bring in one of these hot names or whatever else, I'm not going to be too surprised or too disappointed because every name we've mentioned so far, and the 2 guys who they brought in for second interviews, and hopefully a third interview with our Long Island connection there from the San Francisco 49ers, you can't fault them on that for sure.
Yeah, so is it too premature now, Mike, until that GM gets in place for us to throw some names around in terms of head coach? I mean, Brian Daboll from the Bills is a guy whose name's been tossed around quite a bit. The newly fired Brian Flores from the Dolphins is a name that's gotten some play. Are we up to that yet? Or do you want to, if you're John Mara right now, make sure that we get that GM hire right so that this guy can get the right head coach? And obviously the Giants also with 4 draft picks in the top 40, they need to get those right as well. Are we even up to a head coach yet?
Well, you have to at least think about it, and I'm sure this list of GM candidates has their own short list of potential coaches that they would like to bring in. As you mentioned, the Buffalo Bills connection. If you go the route of Ryan Poles with the Chiefs, once you have Eric Bieniemy, a hot name who's been out there for a long time. Do I necessarily want him as the Giant coach? I don't think so. But once again, it couldn't be any worse than what we've seen the last couple of years. But while it's a big pie, a lot of ingredients there as you're talking about the draft and getting it set. Not too early to float names because I'm sure that those conversations are going on internally. But certainly nail down this GM, and I would think pretty quickly. Again, the playoffs are still going on. It's difficult during these times to interview guys who are in the thick of the playoffs, but I'm sure that the Giants will either move relatively quickly, or if they have something in place with someone who's still coaching, soon as that season ends, a day or two later, boom, they're going to make a move.
One of the names that's been bandied about, Mike, that seems like it's going to cost you more than money, draft pick, maybe multiple draft picks, is, of course, our old buddy Sean Payton from the Saints. Would you give that any consideration?
Oh, I absolutely would. You know what? You got to at least make the phone call or kick the tires on that, because you're talking about someone
who giving up a number one. You giving up a number one?
Oh boy, it's you know what, Mike? It's tempting. I think it's tempting only because what you can say about Sean Payton is this: his teams always achieve at least what they're supposed to, or I mean, look at the team he had this year with once Jameis Winston went down, their offense was basically putrid, but to be able to stay in the race as long as they did, you know what, and it's someone that brings a lot of panache with him and has a Giants background. Do I give up a one? Boy, I don't know. That's a little, what do you think on that? That's a little rich, I think.
Yeah, you know what, Mike? I think I'm willing to take my chance with a guy who is maybe the hot coordinator right now, and I don't want to part with those draft picks, especially the Giants picking high, 2 high picks in the first round, 2 high picks in the second round. I don't want to part with those picks. I want a GM who's going to get it right, get the right coach in here, and then start to pick guys at the top of the draft who belong at the top of the draft. And then clearly, Mike, one of the things you have to do is, as the second round turns to the third round, the fourth round, the fifth round, you have to know how to find those hidden gems in the fifth and the sixth round. One of those hidden gems, just to bridge into our guest segment tonight, is a guy that played right here on Long Island. He got drafted in the 6th round by the Jaguars, made his way from Jacksonville to Indy, and now is playing in Green Bay. That is Tyler Davis of the Green Bay Packers. I had a chance to speak with him during the week, Mike, and the conversation sounded like something like this. Let's take a listen. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Spot on Sports, New York's premier sports talk show, where we talk sports, all New York sports, and nothing but sports. My name is Mike Trez. I've got a special guest with me on Zoom. He's a New York guy, a Long Island guy, played high school football right here in Nassau County at Mepham High School, and is now a member of the Green Bay Packers, Tyler Davis. Tyler, welcome to the show. Thanks for a few.
Hey, Mike, appreciate you having me on.
Hey, I appreciate it too. So I would guess that only an NFL player would want to be in Green Bay, Wisconsin at this time of the year in January, right?
This is football weather, that's for sure, when you talk about the elements. So definitely really cool to play here. Like you said, perfect football weather is stuff that you dream about playing in January. So definitely feels right.
Let's talk about your journey this year, Tyler. You started off in Jaguars camp with Urban Meyer this year, released before the end of camp, had a cup of coffee with the Indianapolis Colts, and then before September was over, I believe it was September 28th, you signed with the Packers. So talk a little bit about how crazy this journey has been for you this season.
Yeah, it's an interesting journey in the NFL. You hear it all the time about how difficult it can be at times, and living in 3 different cities in less than a month definitely put things into perspective for me, going from Florida to as north as Green Bay, Wisconsin. So it's been a journey, but thankful that it worked out the way that it did. You learn different things, bits and pieces at all different stops of the way, which is awesome. Every spot is a learning experience for you. You take things from different people. You get to be around great players, great people, and you make friendships that last a long time too along the way, which is awesome. So just taking it day by day, and just thankful the way things worked out that it ended here.
Talk a little bit, Tyler, if you don't mind, how the situation with the Colts unfolded. How did you come to be there, and how did you come to exit there?
Yeah, so when I got released by the Jags at the end of camp, I had a couple teams that were interested in me coming to their practice squads to continue my development. Had a couple choices there. I thought that the Colts was going to be the best shot to eventually move up. Just looking at depth charts and players and numbers and in terms of all that. So I decided to go to the Colts. Was there for the first 3 weeks of the year. It was really cool to be around those guys, Jack Doyle, 10-year guy, Mo Alley Cox, a really good player over there. So it was really cool to be there. So that definitely played into some of the factors to go over there. Good veteran players to learn from. And then was doing my thing, doing pretty well. And one day, Green Bay was having some issues injury-wise within their tight end room. Needed a tight end fast to come in and play and help out that room. So I was literally getting ready for practice in Indianapolis, and I got a call from my agent saying, "Tyler, no matter what you do, don't go outside to practice. We think that you're going to get signed by the Green Bay Packers."
Wow.
So I was kind of, yeah, it was crazy. So I was kind of, because I'm ready to go practice. You know, I mean, I love practicing, so I'm always the first one out there ready to rock and roll. And he's telling me to stay in the locker room. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. And he's like, just trust me. And I was like, okay. So then a couple of personnel people came up to me on the Colts, and they're like, yeah, this is happening. And they were happy for me because obviously that's a promotion going from practice squad to an active roster. So they handled it with class too. Obviously they wanted to keep me. I was doing pretty well over there in the 3 weeks I was there, but they were happy for me at the same time, which made it an easy transition. And then had about 2 hours to pack, and then I was on the road driving up to Green Bay, and the rest is history. So definitely a crazy experience.
That's wild. And when you first got to Green Bay, you were mostly playing on specials, but watching you the last couple of weeks, I noticed you've gotten more and more time with the offense, including a couple nice catches on that Sunday night game against the Vikings. So talk about your role on the team right now, Tyler, how it's evolved and where you expect it to go from here.
You know, when you get brought in mid-season like that, you really just fit where they need you to begin. I think this NFL, the whole thing is about trust. The coaches have to trust that you can go in there and get the job done. So it's a slow, gradual process. They're not just going to throw you out there, you know, unless you've been proven and shown that you've done it before. But in my second year, obviously that's not the case. If you're a big name guy, sure, they'll throw you out there because you've done it before. But for me, it was just come in, start off playing on special teams and trying to make a name for myself on there. Did pretty well in my first couple of games here. Had 3 straight games with a tackle on special teams. So that kind of opened the eyes of the coaches a little bit. Had a nice little streak going there with that. And playing well in all those phases. You know, I mean, playing hard, playing well. And then got a couple of chances to play some offense in the later part of some games that we were ahead in, and did a pretty good job of that too. So every week just kind of building off of the last week, getting a little bit better, getting a couple more plays each week, rolling in. And then there was a couple of games where I got an opportunity to catch some passes and make the most of it. And then that just brought more plays and more plays. So really it's just how the NFL works. You know what I mean? Is you never know when your opportunity is going to come. You just got to make sure that you're ready for it and take advantage of every opportunity that you have. I'd like to think that I did that and hopefully continue to do that to gain more and more trust in these coaches to play more down the stretch.
And for a kid from Nassau County, it's got to be a little bit surreal in a way sometimes, Tyler, to be to find yourself in the huddle with Aaron Rodgers. What is Aaron like as a teammate, and also when you're actually on the field and in the huddle with him?
It's crazy because I just think back to when I first got here, and I obviously grew up a Giants fan, always rooting for the Giants and watching them beat the Packers at Lambeau Field in the freezing cold en route to one of their Super Bowls is one of the biggest childhood memories that I have. It's really where I had the desire to go, and I wanted to go chase that. Go get a trophy for myself, go get a Lombardi for myself. So, and then doing it against Aaron Rodgers, and now I'm in the same huddle as him. It's pretty surreal, to be honest with you. And I don't take it for granted ever. I realize who he is. You could have this debate all the time, but he is the greatest quarterback physically, talent-wise, that has ever played this game. And it's just remarkable to see day in and day out what he does, preparing, how he practices. Some of his throws in practices, you just turn around, look at your buddy next to you and be like, did that just happen? And you're like, yeah. It's like he controls the ball while it's in the air to be put in the perfect spot. So it is a dream come true. Like I said, I don't take it for granted. I realize that I'm around a future Hall of Famer every single day, and just in the huddle, just all the time, just taking everything that I can, enjoying every second with him. And then just on the side too, he's just a great dude to be around. He's a guy's guy, really funny, keeps it light. Of course he's serious when it needs to be serious, but kind of tries to take the stress away from us, take a little pressure off by throwing in a joke or two during the game in the huddle. And so he's awesome. He's great to work with.
I wanted to ask you, Tyler, because last time you and I talked, you said you played other sports growing up, but football was always it for you. What was it about this particular sport that really drew you in and really grabbed a hold of you? And when did you first get the idea that you could actually make it from North Bellmore to the NFL?
I'd probably say to answer your first question, when I really started to figure out that I wanted to do this, I think when I got to high school and I was a high school quarterback, and I thought the quarterback was the coolest thing ever because you essentially get to lead the troops into battle. You're the leader. You're the top guy. You lead your team. And usually better quarterback usually wins. At any level. The more experienced, the better player. And I just always wanted to be that guy to lead my guys to battle. To push guys further than they could push guys further than they thought that they could reach themselves. I always wanted to be that guy, that leader. That's when I started falling in love with this game, was because I love just pushing guys to the limit. I love seeing guys realize that they wouldn't have been able to get there without getting pushed. So that was a big deal for me in high school, big deal for me in college. Obviously, only 2 years in the NFL, it's a little different. You're not going to be yelling at vets to do more and whatnot, but that's definitely what led me to love the game of football. Definitely the leadership aspect of it. To answer your second question, when did I realize that I'd be able to do this? I don't know if I ever realized it, to be honest with you. I always just I took it day by day. I knew it was the end goal, but I never really focused on it. I just really thought about it day by day. Just if I could stack a brick every day, hopefully it'll end up with the end result that I wanted. And if I didn't get there, at least I knew that I tried as hard as I could. I gave everything that I had to it, and then I could walk away with no regrets. So I don't know if there was ever a time. There was times, even draft day, where I didn't know what was going to happen. And didn't know if I was going to get drafted, didn't know if I was going to get undrafted, signed after the draft, didn't know if I was going to get a tryout. There's so much variability where I didn't know what was going to happen. So to be honest with you, it was never. It was just, and that's my same attitude today, is always just continuing to prove yourself, because it's not about what you did for me yesterday. It's about what you did for me today. And that's just how this league rolls. It's a tough business, but every day you just got to keep stacking days, stacking bricks, and you'll see what happens. But definitely is just always there, chip on my shoulder, always just trying to get better. So, yeah, that's what I'd say.
And as interesting as your journey this year has been, Tyler, your journey from Mepham High to University of Connecticut to Georgia Tech, and switching positions twice along the way, going from quarterback to wide receiver, and then ultimately ending up a tight end, is really just as fascinating to me. Talk about that whole evolution. Whose idea was it from you to get away from being under center and to go out wide, and then to come back a little tighter than that?
It was actually, it was funny. This is a funny story. So it was Bob Diaco, who's the head coach at UConn at the time. Like you said, I went in as a quarterback, was there, redshirted, so I didn't play my freshman year. He came up to me after one summer workout, comes up to me and says, Tyler, it's like, you can't be holding a clipboard on the sidelines. He says, you're a top 5 athlete on this team. He said, we can't have you on the sidelines doing nothing. He's like, we're going to move you to outside linebacker. I said, what? I said, I've been playing quarterback. I'm not trying to play outside linebacker. I said, you're crazy. So I was like, I'm not doing that. So I kind of just walked away, and maybe the next day or so he came up to me. He's like, what do you think about tight end? And I was like, you're going to have to give me some time about that. You know what I mean? Because I dreamed of playing Division I quarterback, you know what I mean? For the same reasons I just brought up. You're the guy, you get to lead the guys, you know what I mean? Lead the team. So I was like, it was a vacation before camp, and he's like, just let me know the first day of camp when you come back. So I came back the first day of camp, and I told him it was a tough decision. I was like, I'll try tight end out. And tried it out, and I wasn't very good at it, and wasn't used to hitting anybody. I was getting thrown around. Had no idea what I was doing. So probably towards the end of that camp into the season, they moved me try and play receiver. Obviously a little bit less physical, blocking smaller guys for my size, being 6'4", probably 230 at the time. And started doing pretty well at that, and then started to figure out some of the blocking aspects, the physicality aspects. And then they moved me back to tight end, and then kind of took on from there. Obviously wasn't pretty my first year. I still think back to some of my first plays and how ugly they were, but always used them just as learning experiences. Noticed I was never going to give up. You know what I mean? As bad as it might have felt, and how bad I thought it was, I was like, I'm never going to be satisfied with this. So just keep working. And that's what I did for 4 years. And then NFL came around, and I guess it was the work that I put in was enough. So it definitely was a journey, all the position changes and whatnot, but glad that Bob Diaco did change my position when I was at UConn.
Let's get back to the present day, Tyler, as you guys prepare for a playoff game at Lambeau on the frozen tundra. What is the overall message of the coaching staff to the players as you guys start to prepare for this first game?
I think just really it's details. You realize that at this point in the season, in the postseason, there's not going to be a bad team left. We realize that, and the details of the plays are so critical in the playoffs. Every play is important. You're not going to get it back. Every play is important in the end result of the game. So just honing in on those details, taking care of your job, and just giving everything that you have. Give up something during this playoff run to end it off with something special, whether it's giving extra film or quitting video games for a month or whatever it may be. Just being able to give everything you have for the Super Bowl run.
Now, clearly, any football fan anywhere in this country who's ever watched a football game knows who Aaron Rodgers is. However, for the more casual fan, can you talk about some of the other offensive guys, some of the weapons on this team, and maybe give a little info, a little inside info that people might not know about some of the guys around you on offense?
I don't even know where to start because there's so many good players around. But, I mean, Devonte Adams, the receiver, is insane to watch. Such a special talent. just crazy to watch every day. His movements, his ability to cut, his ability to catch the ball. He'll be running down the field, ball will be like a over the shoulder ball. He'll overrun it, catch it behind his back 40 yards down the field. I'm like, how do you even do that? He's a special one. Aaron Jones, the running back, great player, real shifty running back, able to play out wide, able to obviously run the ball. AJ Dillon, a bruising running back, 250, going to run straight downhill right at you and run you over. David Bakhtiari, one of the best left tackles in the NFL, just came back last week in the regular season. Real special player. So we got players all around. I could keep going on and on. The list goes on and on with the team and the guys on offense. So definitely playmakers all around. So just really fun to be part of an offense with those type of players.
You know, what's funny, Tyler, is that even though you've taken this incredible journey this year, there are still people in the New York area that might not be as familiar with what you're doing as they could be, or I would say should be. So what do you want to let people in New York know, if they don't know already, about Tyler Davis's game?
I would just say scrappy, old school type player, gets the job done, whatever the coaches need. Kind of just been my philosophy since I got there. Whatever they need, I got them. Whether that's special teams, whether that's offense, whether that's playing 40 snaps of offense or 0 snaps of offense, whatever they need me to do to win the game, whatever they need, I'm all for. I think that's a great part about this whole team in general, is that we don't care who gets the credit. We just want the final result, which is the win. I think that's firm and true with every player on our team, which makes this culture so special in Green Bay. Nobody cares about the credit. They just want the win. So just like that, being a player that is just focused on the end result.
Yeah, no, that's great. So if you could give a message to your friends and your family members back here in the 516 as you begin to prepare for this year's playoff run, what would it be?
Just that I love them. So appreciative of all the support that they've given me my entire life. I was this kid with a dream from Long Island, from the 516 Nassau County, that probably didn't seem realistic because there's not many of those kids playing in the NFL now. There's probably a handful. It's not Florida, it's not Texas, it's not California, where it's a football hotbed. Just thank you to all those people that believed in me, that had my back the whole way. Just thank you, and how much that has meant to me. Still means a lot. All the people that have gotten me to this journey all know how appreciative I am, as I talked to him today, still about it. So just that I love them, and thank you for all the support.
The one favor I want you to do for me, Tyler, at the end of the season, when you have a quiet moment, ask Aaron if I can get a better rate on my insurance, okay? Because I'm paying a lot of money.
State Farm rate.
Yeah, ask him if I can get that Rodgers rate. You know what I mean? Tyler Davis, I really, really appreciate a few minutes from you today. And I want to wish you the best of luck as you start this playoff run. All of us back here on Long Island will be watching you. We'll be rooting for you, and we're proud of you. So good luck to you the rest of the way.
Appreciate it, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this on Spot on Sports.
Hi, my name is Dave Crow, proprietor of Belfast Gastro Pub in beautiful downtown Lindenhurst. We are the heartbeat of the village, serving exceptional dishes throughout the day, created by our executive chef, James Tomlinson. Whether it's to dine in our purpose-built outdoor dining area that seats 60 persons, or to enjoy a pint or a cocktail at our 40-foot mahogany bar. We also have a private catering room that can accommodate up to 60 guests. Love stories begin at Belfast.
Now back to Spot on Sports with Mike Trez and Mike Godone.
Welcome back, everyone, to Spot on Sports. Mike Trez, the coach, Mike Godone, and joined now by our hockey maven, Johnny Sticks, John Santa Maria. John, how are you?
Good evening, guys. What a time to come on with big news out of the NHL today, a reschedulement alignment of postponed games due to COVID.
Yeah, and before we even get to that, John, the Islanders have finally started rolling 6-1-1 since December 16th. Now finally back at the elusive 500 mark, 13-13 and 6 overtime losses. So can you talk a little bit about the recent stretch, the recent good stretch that the Islanders have finally, come to put together?
Well, I think it has to start with the easy part. It's about time they're playing some games. Lost a lot of games because of COVID. They lost their whole Western Canada trip because of attendance restrictions through the different provinces up in Canada. So, and to be fair, and everybody may be like, well, why is that the case? I think the NHL wants to be fair to that, give everybody equal revenue. You don't want teams losing it. It's different with the other sports where you have one Canadian team in the NBA, one Canadian team in baseball. You have 7 teams in Canada in the NHL. That's a big drop in financial loss. So they're trying to be fair, and it's just the Islanders are on the bad end of it. So they'll go back to Canada. They'll go up on that trip next month. But I think the matter overall, finally a routine, finally getting some games in, the guys getting healthy. They look comfortable. But one thing that I said last time I was on with you guys, I'm still sticking to my mind. You're riding or dying with this roster. There should be no movements come this trading deadline this year.
John, with the tough start, obviously, that the Islanders had, having to be on the road for so long before they broke in at their brand new arena, also a slow start there. But now it seems like they've certainly turned the corner and feel very comfortable at home. I know you've been there a couple of times, I believe, to sample the tastings and different things, all the trimmings that go with the new arena. Number one, if you could give us a quick thought on that. And number two, do you feel that it's now finally becoming home ice for this team?
Well, I'll start with the second one first. I think so. I think it's the comfort, and I think it's the matter of getting into the routine and the schedule. It's just bad break after bad break. And yes, I've been there a few times, have a couple of postponed games in my email that I'm waiting for new ticket stubs for. So we're all impacted with this in different ways, but no, the building's everything you expect. Beautiful. A lot of comparisons in some ways. If you guys have been to Prudential Center, similar layouts, similar ideas, plenty of bathrooms. That was a big problem at Nassau Coliseum. Every Islander fan should be aware of that. There's plenty of bathrooms outside every section.
Plenty of bars I hear as well, huh?
Plenty of places to eat. You get the feel on the concourse. You guys have been down to Grand Central, Chelsea Market, that wide open space. That's pretty much how they set up. Pretty much grab and go food service. You're not really waiting on lines. You're paying for things yourself. There's nothing to complain about. The only thing I would complain about, if anything, and I think this is still because things aren't finished, is the parking situation.
Yeah, that's
especially the track by the racetrack, the parking lot by the racetrack, the Emerald lot. They're still building a couple of garages, so I think that is still a work in progress.
Yeah, you know what, John, that's a great point as well. I think it was in their haste to get everything ready for this season, and with some of the delays, obviously, the parking scenario was probably the last thing, but hopefully they'll get that in shape. Our friend Ray had a great question talking about last night's game. Wasn't on cable, was only on Hulu. And is that a direction that the league is heading towards streaming, or was that just maybe a once or twice thing that we're going to see here along the way?
All right, I'll explain that. So part of the new TV package, obviously everybody knows NBC Sports opted not to re-up the NHL contract. So TNT, Turner Sports, TNT specifically, and ESPN now have the rights to the national broadcast. ESPN within that package put a number of games, more than on the actual television, on the streaming service, ESPN Plus. I am a subscriber of that, so I was able to get the game that way. So it's just another way to make some money. It's another way to broadcast, and very simple, easy process. Not all of the games that ESPN does are on the streaming service. They are still doing weekly. I think it's on Thursday, mostly Thursday nights now. The rest of the season, they're going to have some showcase games on Saturdays, but more of them are streaming. Do I think the league is heading that way? Not fully, because I don't think Turner Sports will do that. I think they will stick to their TNT, TBS, whatever they decide to do. But no, I don't think they will stream on Bleacher Report.
Let's go back to the Islanders for a second, John. Columbus, 35 points. Philly, 34. Devils, 33. Islanders now 32. The good news is the Islanders have been hot lately. The flip side of that equation, of course, is they've got a lot of teams to jump over, John, before they get themselves back in good stead for a playoff spot.
Yeah, I'm not looking too deep into that now because of all the amounts of games they got to make up. They have the Philadelphia game last night doesn't count because they just moved the game around. So technically they have 11 games they got to make up on the schedule. The 9 that were rescheduled that were just announced today, and then they had another one that was switched. The reason why they played Philly last night, they moved Columbus to March. So just some shuffling around, and more so with that was arena availability. But 11 games, that's still a lot in hand. So I'm not you look at the game numbers everybody has played. All those teams are way ahead of the Islanders. So right now the approach is, I think you take it one game at a time. You get everybody healthy. You don't think too deep into it, and little by little you'll climb up. Look at Philly first. You're right there with them. You're right there with New Jersey. And then you start talking about the top 5 in the Metropolitan, the top 8 in the Eastern Conference. It's been done before, going from there has been teams going from last to winning Stanley Cups. St. Louis did it a couple years ago. Pittsburgh has done it a couple of times. Not saying the Islanders will win the Stanley Cup, but the point is you can make the playoffs from that point. And you're only at 500, so it's not like you're in a difficult span.
Very true. And as
John, your audio.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to step on you. I was just going to say.
Sorry. I was just going to tell John.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. Just as one of our.
going to tell John his
audio.
Just going to tell John his audio is locking up a little bit, and we're gonna let you go, John. We're gonna talk to you in a couple more weeks, and let's go Islanders. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, John, very much. It was great to see you again. Thanks for everything. Let's go Islanders. And Mike, one of the things I just was going to bring up as one of our fans, once again, Artie Johnson, my old teammate from Malloy College and a huge Islander fan and NBA fan. Islanders with 5 games in hand and possible 10 points and even more. I was looking today; they have 7 games in hand up on the Rangers. So lots of things going on there. Islanders. The one thing I was going to point out to John and see what he thought was just a hockey point with the Olympics coming up. You know, the NHL players were going to be in the Olympics and they were going to have that 2-week break. Now that got pulled, it's probably a blessing in disguise now for the NHL that they have that window to make up these games and be able to shuffle things around, because it would have been probably disastrous trying to make up all these games and have a 2-week break again. And for a team like the Islanders that hadn't been on the ice for so long, the worst thing possible for them would be to sit out another 2 weeks. So while it's disappointing in some respects, Olympic-wise, that the NHL players are not going to be there, I think it's better overall for the product.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Mike. I had it on my sheet to bring up with John, too. And honestly, I think not only for the league, but for the Islanders specifically, because of the reason you mentioned, so many stoppages this year, so many guys out with COVID issues, including their head coach. And, and because of the thing I brought up with him, where the Islanders are finally getting going in the right direction, they're starting to put together a nice streak. And to have to stop that would really be a tough way to go. But you know what, Mike? I'm very, very fixated on NFL playoffs right now. So let's get back to talking about that for a few minutes. Listen, this past weekend, the 2 games that I thought were really, really good games were obviously the 2 really close games were Cincy and the Raiders, which I only had a little bit of a mild interest in. And obviously the one that was much, much bigger to me is the one that got a huge TV rating, Mike. And that, of course, was the 49ers at the Cowboys.
Right, America's team versus what some people are now calling the new America's team in the San Francisco 49ers. It's amazing to me, Mike, the vastness of Cowboys fans throughout the country, and I know we have a couple on at the moment right now. Growing up a Giants fan, as you and I both were, and I have been always. I hate to use the word amazed again, but just by the amount of Cowboys fans that there are here in this part of the country. And there's Art. Yep, there's my man Art again. But you know what? Tough days for those Cowboy fans. And was it a matter of that the Cowboys were kind of a victim of their own success in playing such weaker teams in the NFC East? So they really weren't as prepped or ready or ready for prime time? Or was it a matter of, do you think that the 49ers just came out and had a little bit better game plan and were really more prepared to play at that time?
Well, clearly the 49ers came out of a much better division. I mean, 3 teams out of that division made the playoffs. Well, 2 teams out of the NFC East did, but you can make the really strong argument now that Philly did not belong in the playoffs. And I went back and looked at it, Mike, and the Cowboys went 6-0 against the really lousy teams, our team included, in that really lousy division this year. So, yes, to answer your question, I think, yes, they were clearly the product of a bad division. Clearly, though, a lot of the United States got sucked in by the Cowboys. People had them going to the Super Bowl again, and 45 million people watched that game on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, it's amazing when you talk about, a Midwest team in the Cowboys, but really America's team until they're unseated from that and the 49ers out in the West. It just does go to show the reach of football, how strong it is. And when you put an intriguing matchup together at this point, how the country is starved for that and across the world as well on the streaming services, as we were talking about with the NHL. It's good for football and it's good for the United States when a well-known team such as Dallas is in the hunt, for sure. Pains me to say that as a New York fan, but it's true. And while it certainly is disappointing times in Dallas, looks like they're going to hold steady, at least with Mike McCarthy. Whether they lose one or both of their coordinators, that remains to be seen. Another good point on our chat here is that they didn't know how to use their weapons correctly. Zeke looks like he's kind of at the end of his rope there. It's a shame, these running backs, they take such a pounding 5-6 years. But there were some other games I'm sure that, we'll dive into here in a minute that were intriguing as well. But yeah, huge numbers there for TV.
Yeah, and what I want to ask you, though, bigger picture, Mike, listen, we can go back to November or so. You and I were on the air together, and I was trying to get you to say what I wanted you to say, which is that the Giants were still alive for a playoff spot. And to your credit, you wouldn't do it. You told me what I needed to hear and didn't want to hear, which was that the Giants were finished already. But the thing is that with the expanded playoffs, yes, it does give you, a fan of a mediocre team, more of an opportunity to think your team is still in it for longer in the season. But as we saw when we came away from some of these games, Mike, I mean, clearly, as I mentioned before, Philadelphia didn't belong. Pittsburgh didn't belong. I'm not going to put Arizona in that category, even though they got their doors blown off, only because I think they were the product of an inexperienced quarterback and an inexperienced coaching staff in that game, more so than a lack of ability on the field, as I think was the case with Pittsburgh and Philly.
Yeah, and how about the Buffalo Bills taking New England to the woodshed? Literally, third time is always difficult for matchups, win, losses, whatever. But you would never have thought that a Bill Belichick coach team would have been embarrassed like they were. So you look at the Bills finally, blasting out on offense, which they've been waiting for all year. So it's an interesting time for it to happen. Are they for real? Mike, the team that intrigues me the most, which I'm I'm going to go out a little bit of a limb here, but the Cincinnati Bengals, I think they go to Tennessee this week and win.
Wow. You are going out on a little bit of a limb there.
Well,
okay.
you can't call Joe Burrow Joe Cool because that was Joe Montana, but now they're calling him Joe Hio. So I think Joe Hio goes into Tennessee and gets it done.
Wow. So you've got the Titans, the number one overall seed in the AFC, losing at home in their first game. All right, so let's get into some other predictions here. I think the game that a lot of people are very, very intrigued with right now is the 49ers, who clearly in the middle of the season, a lot of people did not think were going to come away with that. We're really even going to make the playoffs. They're hot right now. They march into Lambeau on Saturday night at 8. What are your thoughts about that game?
I got to be honest with you. I think it's blowout central. I think that the 49ers overachieved against the Cowboys, kind of reached their limit. Jimmy Garoppolo, he did almost enough to lose the game. Did enough to win the game, but almost enough to lose. I can't see
let them back in with that one
oh my goodness,
terrible throw.
Woo. Wow, that had any casual football fan pulling out there, or just even if you knew the very least about football, just an unbelievable play. Yeah, just insane. But yeah, hard to imagine San Francisco being able to go into Lambeau and pull off a win. I think that they overachieved, as I said before. They go up there. Green Bay is licking their chops and ready to go. A tall task for San Francisco. But as our friend Tyler Davis, which is a great interview right there, Mike, before, fine young man, I think they get the job done and then some.
I think that most people right now, the conventional wisdom is saying that there is no way, given what's gone on with Aaron Rodgers in the past year, Mike, going back to last playoff run, last offseason, all of the drama this year with the COVID and with the toe and all of this stuff. I think the conventional wisdom is saying that there is no way that the Packers are not going to take care of business for 2 games on their frozen tundra to go to the Super Bowl. Is that your thought as we go into this weekend?
It is, because you know what I mean. There's no doubt that Aaron Rodgers is a drama king or queen, however you want to put it. Married to an actress. I mean, the guy, he just thrives on that stuff. But within the huddle and as Tyler was speaking to before, just an all-time great. They're going to find a way to get it done. Is this his last hurrah? And is he moving on after the season? We don't know. But what better drama to finish off the next 2 games in Lambeau as the king and go out with that. And then, add to the speculation in the offseason. But they, to me, are the best team at the moment and are going to prove it.
Let's just get to the Sunday games really quick, Mike. You give the Rams any shot down in Tampa against Tom Terrific?
I do. You know what? All the talk with the Rams has been with the offense. Bringing in Matt Stafford, was that an enormous upgrade? He won the playoff game. There they are now. He's capable of getting hot. But to me, it's the defense. I give the Rams always a puncher's chance, certainly against Tampa Bay, because you're talking Aaron Donald and just a secondary that's capable of putting together a solid game. While Tampa Bay did the job and was obviously far superior to the Eagles, were they all that impressive? I don't know. You can't, Tom Brady, whoever bets against him. But definitely, I think that game has the makings of a real solid contest.
Now, there's one game that I want to pin you down on, Mike, and I'm not going to let you off the hook here. Okay.
All right.
I want you to tell me that Josh Allen and the Bills are going to go in to Arrowhead and upset Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I want you to tell me that, Mike.
And I will tell you that. They are going to do that. Yes, they are.
Wow.
Now
You
listen.
heard it, folks, right here.
Don't I know sports gambling is legal.
Back.
Don't go to your sports book on that one, folks. But I will say this: something tells me that the Bills really, I mentioned it before. They played as well as they could, and their confidence has to be sky high. While the Chiefs have been on a roll as well, but played a far inferior opponent. So I think they're going to certainly not have an easy time like they did against Pittsburgh. I think it'll be a knockdown, drag out, and 1 out. Let's go with the Bills.
All right, so Mike's got the Bengals. I have the Titans. Do you have the 49ers or the Packers, Mike?
Going with the
Packers. We both do. Okay.
Yep.
All right. I'm going to take the Rams to go into Tampa and beat the Bucks, and Mike is going to take the Bills. I'm going to take the Chiefs. So we've got just 2 minutes left, Mike. And while we do, I hate to switch gears so late in the show, but I had to ask you because you're a basketball first guy, and I meant to devote a little more time to this.
We'll get to it. No problem.
Are we seeing R.J. Barrett start to take the next step and become the guy that the Knicks wanted him to become when they took him number 3 overall? 23 points a game, Mike, in the last 8 or 10 games for the Knicks.
You know what? You're seeing the flashes, but I'm still just not 100% sold on RJ as that next tier guy. I think what happens is you see a game like last night. While the team struggled a little bit down the stretch, they got Evan Fournier was shooting unbelievable. Here's the numbers that I see once again on RJ last night: 3 free throws, 7 turnovers, and that's a game you can't have at that point if you are in the process of taking that next step. We had talked about his shooting. We've been talking about his shooting for a year, and I think that'll always be an issue. But a 7 turnover game against a team like the Wolves, where it came down at the end, he's got to be better than that, and he's got to get to the line a little bit more. So while I was prepared for this question earlier, and it was easy enough to look back on 1 game's worth of stats, and that doesn't define his season. We've certainly seen improvement. Is he getting there? Yep. But is he that next tier guy? I don't think so.
Really quick yes or no answer on this one, Mike. Knicks right now in 11th place. Are they making the playoffs this year? Yes or no?
They squeak in. I see them making a deal at some point. Not a huge deal, but bringing in somebody to maybe a Jalen Brunson. There's been some talk with that and packaging Kemba and something else. I see them making a minor deal. I see them squeaking into the playoffs, but they're not the love story that they were last year.
All right, folks, that's going to do it from here at Spot On Sports. We want to thank our special guest, Tyler Davis. We want to thank Johnny Sticks for hopping on with us. Our producer is the great Michael Anthony. Our logo art is by Valerie Hanatic, the Jets fanatic. Our theme music, Spot On, is by Scott Daly. Voiceover guy is the amazing Archie Snowden. For everyone here at Spot On Sports, including the coach, Mike Cadone, this is Mike Trez saying so long. We'll see you next time on Spot On Sports. Whatever it takes.